Yeah, we got all the Lake Tahoe. I love it. So if you want to do any of that, of course, Zoom. And if you didn't catch my new video on Zoom Immersive View, it's kind of cool. You can do some new effects where you can actually have a virtual classroom where students sit in seats and you could sit in the front as the lecturer. It's pretty hip. If you're into that, if you want that, you do need the new version of Zoom to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about Zoom today, but Zoom's really not the focus since Zoom is primarily for live video. Now, let me mention and pull up the big announcement. I know the administration was concerned about this. I sent out a video and also, and this is in the chat right now, and this is a PDF that'll walk you through working on what to do if you have a bunch of videos in your Zoom. And the deal is, starting June 30th, Zoom, confers Zoom through the state because of all the storage involved, will automatically delete any videos in your Zoom account that that were recorded on August 15th, 2020 or prior. So any of those will just get wiped out. So with this worksheet and video, and if you want this, you just click on the worksheet and it'll take you to the video. And by the way, these titles, I mentioned to Solange in our workshop yesterday that I created these through Canva, and I've been recently experimenting with using these more because I've noticed on my YouTube page, these show up better as thumbnails. You can see they show up really nicely. So anyway, that video title was created on Canva, which we'll talk about today. So if you want to learn more about this, click on the video. You can also go through this PDF. It has all the steps. Basically, what you need to do is go into your recordings tab. You need to locate any of those recordings that have those affected dates. So these 3 recordings of mine would be deleted. You click on the title, and then you can download any and all of the files. The files that you have in your recordings depend on your Zoom settings. I typically have the option selected in Zoom to give me every possible video. Like for today, I'll get a gallery view, I'll get the shared screen view that you're seeing, I'll get views of all of you. So when you're talking, if I want to edit that in my video program, I have more options. If you don't have those advanced options set up, typically you will have, I think, the audio file, maybe if you selected that, the transcript, the chat, and then one video file. But you'd click on that, and once you click on that, it'll show up as a file. I think that stands for Greenwich Mean Time and the date. And I believe it's always an MP4. We don't have the ability to do HD recording. Although I've been in conversation with IT, there is a plan that we'll move to our own Zoom sub account, and that might allow us a little more power in terms of video deletion and controlling some things and making it a little more, I think, effective. And there's a direct Canvas integration where you'll be able to, once we have our own hosted Zoom sub account instead of through the state, you'll be able to click on your calendar inside of Canvas and immediately schedule a Zoom meeting, a session, any kind of meeting, a class session, and so forth. Now you have to go through that confer tool, and I have said, and I think Treva as well, that it's not the easiest to use. So I believe some of this will also be helped once we have that Zoom sub account. And we will talk about Canvas Studio today and YouTube. So what you would want to do if you have any videos that you're relying on inside of Zoom, because those will go away, even though there's a share link, if it's from August 15, 2020 and earlier, those will be deleted. So very easy to download those to your computer and then re-upload to another site. I would recommend Canvas Studio. Solange and I talked a little bit yesterday about a site called 3C Media, which we'll discuss today. It's free to use. And then, of course, YouTube. Now, if you're not a power YouTube user like I am, you may not want to, start your own YouTube channel, but it's fairly easy to work with, and I can talk to you about that today as well. So we'll transition now. So that's just the announcement about the Zoom video deletion. I'll continue to send out reminders because we just don't want anyone to lose their important media that you might have recorded that you want to share with others, but that you haven't yet downloaded and uploaded, say, to, I'm going to let Ray in here, Canvas Studio, 3C Media, or YouTube. And let me one more time share, because I think the deal is if you join after I've shared something, the handout goes away. So for Ray here, I will reshare the handout. So this is called Working with Video. I will have this on the screen. You don't have to download it. I will also send it out, and it will be referenced in the video of this workshop, so you can re-download it there. So what I have here is a handout that includes topics that would, I think, be useful to a lot of people, going from the basics, intermediate, and advanced. And I realize all of us come from different backgrounds, experiences with media. Solange teaches this. Pat, I'm sure, teaches a lot of this via digital design. I know Eric does a ton of work with audio and studio work and microphones and guitars and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, I have my setup as well. So different levels of experience with media, and the plan is to go through this at a very broad brush level, high level, and then what we'll do is, if there's a lot of interest, say, in using PowerPoint to do video or Canva Studio, schedule additional workshops based on those particular programs or techniques, because there's a lot to obviously cover in an hour. So these are the various topics we'll look at. This is the key that has your options for different forms of software. Many of these are freely available. Some involve a purchase, so we'd want to talk about that. We'll discuss today kind of the 3 T's of this topic: the tasks, the time, and the tools. What do you want to accomplish? How much time do you want to spend? And what tools do you need to get the job done? And then just today I created more specific to options. So if you want to do live broadcasting, you could click on some of these links. These are all hot linked, so you click on it and it'll take you to the particular program, in this case Audacity, free program to work with audio. If you want to blur confidential student data, how do you do that? So these are the topics we'll go through. And I think the main focus today will be on PowerPoint and Canva Studio. And I was actually surprised recently to discover so much great stuff you can do within PowerPoint related to doing edits on your video, bringing in multiple video clips, saving those all as an MP4 file, which is a video format, even going in and adjusting the trim, the length of the clip, going in and adjusting some color, exposure, and then Canva Studio as well. Now, when we discuss Canva Studio today, and Solange got a preview of this yesterday, there's a weird workaround. So you can actually do a lot of powerful edits to your video. You can do titles, you can do blurring, you can insert arrows, but all of it has to be done through a new video. And so if you've recorded a Canva Studio tutorial, and that's saved to Canva Studio, in order to put new stuff in, to edit it, to blur it, to change the cropping of it, all that kind of fun stuff we can do with an advanced video editor, you have to basically start a new Canva Studio session, a live recording, stop it after 2 seconds, before you hit upload, do all the edits, and bring in the previously recorded video. I was actually thinking of next week reaching out to the folks at Canva Studio and saying, hey, can you put an edit feature in? Because it's a weird workaround, and that's what's described on this handout. And we'll go through that in length today. So that's kind of the lay of the land that we will be working with, and we'll go through some of the simple areas first and then move to the more complex ones. Again, I think after you watch this workshop or participate in it, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. If you're watching the video of this, you can reach out. Think about what you want to accomplish. If you want to use a second camera in your setup, if you want to use your DSLR, you want to use your vintage lenses, this is some of my vintage lens collection here. Very easy to accomplish, to set up a second camera and to use a capture card and hook up my video camera, my DSLR, and use that in conjunction with my main video camera. So that's pretty easy to accomplish, and that time-wise doesn't take too long. It could involve you spending a little bit of money, and we'll talk about some of the purchases you might have to make. And the tools for that, again, are primarily going to be pieces of technology to hook up to your computer. Now, if you want to do advanced video editing, if you want to sit and say, okay, I have, and this is Final Cut Pro that I use for all my editing, and I want to combine a bunch of video clips, or I want to go in and I want to do some color adjustment. I want to go in and adjust the saturation. I want to adjust the exposure on my video. I want to apply a custom color scheme, what's called a LUT or a lookup table. In order to do any of that stuff, advanced stuff, I really do need an advanced video editing program. And really the sky's the limit with this. I can do effects, I can do transitions, I can do custom audio operations. Just to give you a sense of what that looks like, I have a sample here, a screenshot. Let me just find it real quick. It's right here. So if I'm editing a video, and this happens to be, I think, one of my music videos, and I'll talk a little, like a short biographical bit about how I got started with video years ago. So this is kind of like a typical timeline I'm working with. So I have multiple video clips that could be different camera angles, some macro shots. I might have cameras running simultaneously. I then might want to sync the audio together, and then I have various audio tracks, and I'm a little non-traditional in that I sometimes do a lot of my audio mixing or layout, if you will, in conjunction with video inside of Final Cut Pro. So these are all audio tracks or audio files that I can adjust at various levels, just like I can in an audio editing program, Audacity, or Logic. So this shows you kind of the complex level, and I think probably for most people it might not be that level because you have limited time, or we all have limited time. So with that in mind, think about what you want to accomplish today, the time you want to spend, and then the tools. And as you start to think about some of the options which we'll go through today, reach out and say, hey, you know, what would be good for doing this? And it could be like, I want to blur my video because I want to share it with another class, but there's confidential student data, student names, or student images. Actually pretty easy to do, and I'll show you 3 options. 2 would be very accessible. That would be Canva Studio and PowerPoint. So again, we'll go through these with the handout today. Now, I just wanted to mention then, because it, I think, gives you a little bit of context, thinking just about how long it can take and how much time it takes to get to a level where I think you feel really comfortable with doing audio, video, media kind of work. And I always tell people that, you know, typically 7 days a week I'm doing something with music, and it's typically music and video combined. And this sort of started, I just wanted to turn down the volume here not to blast this, but years ago I was in a band. I've been in many bands, and so I had a copy of iMovie, which is the light version of Final Cut Pro, and this is Final Cut Pro. So it was easy for me to upgrade and to learn it because I already knew the basic interface in iMovie. And if you know video editors, you have a timeline, and you can view on that timeline your various clips. Those could be audio or video. You have a playhead, which is not unlike a playhead on a cassette tape machine of old, and it allows you to go in and make adjustments to the video. I have something called a Stream Deck. Let me just switch here. I'm running 6 cameras today, so hopefully I don't kill anything. No cameras were harmed in the making of this workshop. Let's see here. Let me find my camera. Yeah, so this is called a Stream Deck, and a Stream Deck allows me to, sorry, knocking things over. It allows me to customize operations for my video program. So what I can do is I can very quickly do certain operations, and it allows me to customize so I don't have to do a lot of menu diving when I'm working in the program. So years ago when I started with iMovie, I just wanted to make some cool videos for my band. So in this particular case, I found a public domain sci-fi show, and I wanted to combine that with images of the band. And this is us playing, I think, at the Grid in North Tahoe. So you can kind of see what I was going for here is I wanted to match the color scheme and kind of that old-timey movie artifacts that you see on the screen. So I try to intercut then the you can see the artifacting here going on, and then this is the shot of the public domain image. So I did this in iMovie, did some edits, tried to combine, you know, the look of that old black and white show with the live band footage, and then added all the artifacting and stuff there. So that's kind of how it started, just, you know, biographically. And then because it was something I wanted to do, it was fun to do. Eventually, I started using, I said I need to upgrade to Final Cut to have more power to work with stuff, and then I started doing more complex things. But again, to really emphasize today, think about the time you want to spend, what you want to accomplish, and then those tools that you need to get started. So to start with some of the easier topics, just want to mention these, and again, if you're interested, if your interest is piqued, reach out. So we have something new called PlayPosit that's just been added to all Canvas classes. And PlayPosit is basically a way to make your video and content more interactive. You can create live video quizzes. You can do things like making sure that students click on certain media elements, and then based on that, you can track exactly what the students are doing. So it's a really good way to combine, say, accountability of your students interacting with media with more interactive abilities. So for example, you could bring in a video that you did of your lecture, you can add other clips to it, you can add other images, and I will be honest with you, it's Trev and I did some trainings on it. It's kind of a deep dive to get going. I'm not claiming to be an expert on PlayPosit, and it's been on my list, and I think it might be something we'll try to launch with some discussions in fall, because we're almost here. Week 6 coming up. So, but it's a really great opportunity if you want to do anything like video quizzes or high-end interaction with your students, where you click on things, quizzes embedded inside of videos, inside of media. It's a really great place to go. So definitely check out PlayPosit. I'll just go through kind of in order here just to make sure we cover these. Now, if you want to do any kind of audio editing, which if you did a recording and you didn't like the quality of that recording, or your microphone was set, what's called your gain adjustment of your microphone was low, it's hard to hear this. My wife actually just did a poetry reading, and one of the other poets, it was hard to hear his microphone, and I think it was probably something on his end with technology. But the good news is after you record something, you could go back and actually adjust that recording. So this is an example of something, and you can upload your narration from, say, one of your videos, or something you've recorded as an audio element within Canvas. And Audacity is totally free, and you could bring in your audio file. And like anything else, you could, delete bits of audio. You can do sophisticated effects. If you're not that level, again, it's probably not important to download Audacity, but I want to mention it because it is a free program. I know that Solange, your students use it in your media classes. If you want other things, and Eric's probably experienced with Isotope. Isotope does really great audio production stuff. If you're doing podcasting, you can literally take clicks out of your audio. You can take puffs. If you don't have a microphone that has a windscreen, you can actually go in and do that all in post-production. So audio, there are some options there. Now keep in mind with your audio, if you want to take an audio track from your video, that does involve a few steps, but some of that can actually be accomplished within PowerPoint and also Canvas Studio. Now, I mentioned yesterday on our workshop that if you want to do anything like work with free sound effects, such as through the BBC, public domain, if you want to get really nice professional clips of various types, you can go to these free sites. You can type in a word like anthropology, and this would be good if you're doing like a department video or something like that. These are all free, and you just simply click on the video, you download that video. In this case, they're asking us to buy, and that's kind of the trick of some of this. You'll note that even though the sites say they're free, in some cases, if they don't have the clip you want or it's very specialized, you have to pay for it. So I believe this is free download. So there's a lot of great links here that I discovered for free sounds, for free video. So anything like that, if you're looking for stock footage, Pat covers this all the time, I know in our photography classes, you have to give attribution often. You can also do a Creative Commons search for video, for audio, and for still images. And these are really nice, and they're already, they're professionally done. The color grading is done there for you, and there's not a lot you have to do. So if you want stock footage, a lot of options there. Now, I've talked about in previous sessions opportunities to have a good webcam, a good microphone, a decent camera, and so forth. I have a one-pager available that takes you through all the aspects of video, doing location video, and so forth. But one thing I wanted to mention is that if you're doing a class and you want the option to have multiple cameras, so you want to have a camera to demo something and show someone, another image, I can switch to that camera. I have another camera set up in the back here, so if I'm doing a demonstration of any of my music stuff and I want to show people how things work with my electroacoustic percussion setup, I would switch to that camera. And then again, for those of you who own DSLRs or camcorders that have a USB plug-in or an HDMI plug-in, all you'd have to do is get what's called a capture card. And let me just load that up for you here. I have so many cameras going here, I'm forgetting which is which. Video capture, I think it's this one, if it's going. Sorry, that one is, I guess, currently not going. But just to show you what I'm talking about, a capture card is, I think my video is frozen there. Let me go back to my main video. I'm showing you the disadvantage of having so many cameras set up. But a capture card looks like this. And it has an HDMI input and output and a USB input. And so this plugs into your computer. And then you would take your camera. And again, as long as your camera has a mini or HDMI output, you plug that into your capture card. And the nice thing about that is, again, if I want to use my macro lens to do macro footage, or I really love this, I got this cheap, it's 20 bucks, it's a security camera lens. Again, I can customize the look of any of the footage that I'm shooting, or it just, because I already have that camera, if I just get a capture card, which is not that expensive, it allows me really to use a camera I already have instead of purchasing another camera. So a lot of options there with webcams, microphones, using other cameras. If you're interested, just reach out and we can discuss that in more depth. If you want to do any kind of live broadcasting, OBS is really your go-to program, totally free. A lot of these are free programs. You download Streamlabs, and again, the cool thing about this is I have a scene set up on my Stream Deck for this, if I could find it. Give me 1 second. I know I have it here somewhere. Well, it's somewhere on here, but anyway, what I can do is, just to switch to that view again, what I can do is, if I'm doing a live broadcast, I can customize all my camera views, I can do transitions, I can have audio cues like Foley or sound effect stuff, and I can customize that and trigger all that in a live broadcast. Now again, if you're not doing a live broadcast, you don't necessarily have to look any further. If you're not interested in doing this, I wouldn't recommend downloading Streamlabs. You can also do live broadcasting through YouTube and Zoom and Facebook, and everyone has the ability right now, if you have that selected, to do a live broadcast on Zoom and push that out through your Facebook account and your YouTube. And it can be a little glitchy. There's sometimes about a 10-second delay that happens, and I think that's for safety and for Zoom bombing, so you could kind of cut the, just like in the old days, you'd call into the radio station if someone was cussing or saying anything inappropriate, they could stop the audio with that 10 or 15-second delay so that nothing inappropriate was said on air. If you want to do anything like animation, Blender is also a free program. I'm not experienced in this, but really cool. Like if you want to do animation, and you can also get templates and do some work with that. That's kind of really advanced. Now there are tutorials available for Zoom. Again, on this one pager. Just keep in mind with Zoom, really, we're talking about doing live tutorials. Live class sessions and meetings, and we can do things like annotate on the screen, but we can't really do any kind of editing per se inside of Zoom. So Zoom is very limited. It's really your go-to for live video, live sessions, and tutorials. But other than record the video, there aren't options inside of Zoom to do any sort of editing or really any kind of titles. So Zoom is kind of useless for that. It doesn't serve that purpose of working with video, adapting it, and so forth. Now, I've mentioned Canva. Canva is free. I do have a pro version, which the college has supported this year, so it gives me more options. But what I like about Canva is the startup time, the learning curve is super minimal. So literally, you can start with something, create a video, you can work with a template, and all the templates have stock images, but you can change the stock images. So if I wanted to, I could delete that video. I could go to the video tab. Again, I can find something new. I could insert that. And it's super easy to use, and everything is customizable. I can change the text, I can change the font, and I kid you not, if you spend about a half an hour, you can get started. I do have a video on Canva that you can check out that takes you through the entire site, everything that you can do. And so I won't mention it again, but if you're interested, check out my video on Canva. One thing I wanted to mention with Canva is that if you wanted to use it as a simple editor, if you wanted to create video titles, very easy to do. You could actually upload multiple videos inside of your new pages in Canva. So as an example, if I go to my uploads here, I know I had one of these yesterday, a short video, or I'll just pull in a new one that's really tiny. Let's see here. This one's 4.5 megabytes. So I'll just pull that in. Again, I'm just dragging it. So this is my title screen from today. I can adjust that to make sure that it fills the whole screen. And then what I would do is, these are in order, and again, the length of these clips, if I had narration on this or something like that, the length of these are already preset. So I don't have the ability to do any kind of edits. In some cases, I could maybe choose the timing element and shorten that, but it's nothing like doing an edit in Canva Studio or even in PowerPoint, or certainly in an advanced video editor like Final Cut Pro. So all I have to do with something like Canva is I download this video as an MP4, and once I do that, it should be pretty quick, I think, because it's a small video. Let's make sure I actually hit the download button there. It usually has some choices. I could choose MP4 or a GIF or a GIF, however you pronounce it. So hitting the download, let's hope it's doing that. Oh, it is here. Okay, so it's actually downloading twice. And then what you're going to see is when that video downloads, these pages will be in order. So to be a seamless video, so that's why I'm suggesting to you, you could actually theoretically use Canva to bring in multiple clips. Again, you can't really edit those clips, but you could put titles on top of them, because any of these video clips I have, I can customize the titles. I can add new elements to it. I can add photos. Again, I could put in any kind of text, and a lot of these are preset, so when you put the text in, it actually will. I don't know why it's not going on that page. It will actually, it's right there. It was just a little bit of a delay. You could resize it. You could adjust the color of it to make it pop or whatever. And it's very easy to use. Again, I think it's one of the easiest programs to learn because so much of it emphasizes templates and elements that are customizable, but you don't have to start from scratch. Everything you do in a video editing program like Final Cut, you're starting from scratch. So that makes it a little more challenging, I would say, in all honesty. And that video actually is a little larger than I thought. It's right here. So as you'll see, it's going to put those two clips in order, and each of those clips was on a page. So that's your first page, and then your second one is coming up after that. So, you know, it's nice because it creates a seamless video. Then all I could do really if I wanted to is go to my Canva Studio page and then click Add, upload that video, drop it here, and then that video is added. So Canva is not going to allow you to do anything sophisticated, but it does allow for some basic stuff, which can be nice. And by the way, if you want to store your videos, as we talked about today, you have some options. Canva Studio is a great option. YouTube is good if you want to start your own YouTube channel. 3C Media can also be effective, and all of these are unlimited in terms of storage. If you want 3C Media, It's free. Just make sure you sign up with your ltcc.edu account, and then you can upload your media to 3C Media. And then what you would do is go to one of your pages inside your class. So I can just go to a sample page here. And the nice thing is everything is available to you in terms of Canva Studio, in terms of YouTube, in terms of 3C Media, by using the rich content editor that we're all familiar with. It did change recently. So if I wanted to, for example, insert anything from Canva Studio, I click on that icon, I click that, and it's inserted. If you want 3C Media, you do have to sign up for 3C Media. But once you sign up, you click on it. And we tried this yesterday. Hey, it works. Solange, remember it took 24 hours. Yesterday we were looking at this and it was blank. So I just click insert and then it is available. Okay. And I'll just mention Solange's use because I think it could be useful to others. She's having students work with what are called dailies for doing video creation. And what she wants to do is to have them access these 50 different short video clips. And I was walking her through yesterday whether or not she could use 3C Media or Canva Studio. So it looks like you could click on 3C Media. Now the question is there a download? I was telling you that. I don't see a download button. Uh-oh. I don't see a download button. So you might have to use Canva Studio, Solange. Okay, so that answers that. It took 24 hours to get that question answered. But if you're not interested in a student downloading the video, just watching it, you can insert it with 3C Media. This is Canva Studio, which is a little more full-fledged. You can do comments, and those comments are saved. They can be time indexed. So if I want to comment on the video at a certain segment, I could type in that comment, and then it really allows for like annotation of your video. It'll show you the person who did the annotation. So if you want, again, accountability like we talked about with PlayPosit, it's an opportunity for you to use Canva Studio, embed that video in your class, and then you can have a full-fledged discussion. You can also download that video as well, which for Solange's video production class I think would be great because then the students can rework that video, put it into their program, Premiere Pro, and then re-upload it. So a lot of options there. It's all easy to use because, again, you just go to the rich content editor and you find the icon or tool that you want and you insert it. So that is, like, I would say, as easy as it gets. So anything for archiving video, again, we have a lot of tools for that. If you want to work with a green screen, I was doing some stuff recently. You can buy these very cheap. These are just from like Walmart or Target poster boards, and literally I think it's like less than $1 or something like that. So what's nice with the green screen is I'll show you a sample here. If you use a green screen, let me do the virtual background. I'm going to. You're not seeing this, but I'm selecting. I have a green screen, and then I'm going to use one of the virtual backgrounds here. And it's for some reason not switching over. Let's see. Now let me click green screen. Let's see. Okay, so there you go. Yep. So what you're seeing is that the computer is detecting. Kind of feel like a superhero, right? Like it's called chroma replacement, and you can do this in your video programs as well. When Zoom is doing the virtual background that many of you have on right now, you'll see like pixelation with your hands and stuff, because for your computer to figure this out in real time without a chroma key, like a green screen or a blue screen, it makes it really hard for the computer to do this in real time. So the shortcut in using a green screen allows you to do that very effectively, and it's less processing lag for your computer. I'm going to stop doing this, but I just love it. I feel like a kid again. So what do you think? I don't know. Okay, I'll stop. I love green screens. Very easy to use. Let me get rid of that virtual background. So your option could be to get some poster board version of this. You can also get just a very cheap green screen cloth, and you could have it. I have a different video screen behind me, but you can get some PVC pipe or something like that. So with a green screen, you do have some options for doing replacement of your background if you want to do that in terms of doing a tutorial or bringing in some outside video footage. And it's pretty easy to do inside of a video editing program. There's a specific chroma effect that you bring into your video, and then you have your two clips lined up, and then anytime the computer sees the green, it replaces that with your other video clip, your still image, or whatever. It's really effective. Nowadays, if you see what they're doing in The Mandalorian, they're actually moving away from green screens, and they're doing real-time LCD screen projection. If you watch old Seinfeld, if you watch old shows where there's a lot of green screen, it's a little wonky, right? You could tell it looks a little fake. So what you see in a show like The Mandalorian is really the new version of that, using real-time immersive LCD screens that surround all the actors, and it makes just for incredible filmmaking. Now, if you want to do anything with FERPA and blurring videos, there are a few options you have here. So PowerPoint, Canva Studio, and using an advanced video editor. So let me show you an example of this within PowerPoint. Now, you wouldn't think of PowerPoint as a go-to maybe for video, but I would actually argue that it's pretty good for working with video. So I can drag in any video clip I have. Let's say I have a lecture. It will be pulled into PowerPoint. I can then click on that, and on my tutorial here under PowerPoint, I give you the sort of areas in PowerPoint where you can work with video. They're not all in the same place. Again, if we want to do a second PowerPoint workshop, we could do that. So when you click on the video itself, you'll find a video format here. So I can go in and do customizations. I can adjust the brightness and the contrast. So if it's off a little bit, I can do that in PowerPoint, and it's one click and then a second click to export it, and I'm done. So it's very easy to do something like a correction, say, for brightness and contrast. I can do some color correction. I can add hue if I want to do that. I can add some other effects like a poster frame around that video. Also some simple video effects, so things like glow and shadow, a lot of edging stuff, video border I can do. So it's not a lot of full-fledged effects. If you looked at my effects panel in Final Cut Pro, you see just how many options I have for doing keying, as we're talking about with the green screen, for doing a lo-fi look, for doing distortion effects, for comic looks. So the sky's really the limit, and that's why I say if you want to do this at the highest possible level, really using Premiere Pro, Final Cut would be your choice. But I think PowerPoint is pretty impressive for doing simple stuff. Now, if you want to adjust anything like the playback, and probably wouldn't want to do a loop or volume of your clip, you can also do that. So very simple, but can be very effective. Now, another place you can work with is, and again, you have to kind of hunt for these, is under slideshow, I believe. And this would be to record a, what do you call it? I guess it'd be to record a narration. So once you click on this, you see kind of a new window opens up, and then there's a version of me here. I could hit record, and then that video will then play along with my other video. So this could be very effective. You could record a narration on top of a film, on top of a PowerPoint slide, on top of a handout. Once you're done with that, hit end show. And you're not going to see it, but then another mini clip will pop up here, and you can do some simple adjustments with that. So what I like with PowerPoint is that you're already familiar with it, and there are limited options, but that makes it good in terms of your time, particularly if you're not interested in spending years learning something. So to show you a sample of how you might work with a blur, I could remove this video, and let me bring in this sample. So my goal here is pretend that the huts here, if this is in Tahiti or Polynesia somewhere, are student faces or names, and I want to blur those. It'd be very easy to do. All I do is I would go and find a shape that would allow me to blur that out. So I could put a, and the image is going to track a little bit and pan, so it's actually going to be up here. So I'm going to guess and say I want to take out this bit of it. Okay. So now that is blurred, and you could add to that a little bit of information saying, type in there blurred for privacy or something like that, if you want. So once you do that, all you'd have to do with anything working with video in PowerPoint is go to the File menu here and hit the Export button. Very important at this stage to export it not as a PDF, but A good format that has some compression but good quality is an MP4. You can choose the quality of it, internet quality. So you see we're going from a ratio of 1920, 1080 down to lower, 1280, 720. I would not recommend probably the low quality, but that will adjust the size of it. And once you do that, that video is available as a file. We'll just see how long it takes here. It shouldn't be too long. And then all you have to do is re-upload that to wherever you're storing the video, 3C Media, YouTube, Canvas Studio. So PowerPoint actually is surprisingly good for doing some very simple things, like, again, blocking out student information for FERPA. And that video is still downloading. But we can also look at how you do that in Canvas Studio. Now, one thing I'll mention about Canvas Studio is there's a workaround to make this work, and I have that listed on the handout. So again, Canvas Studio is really good for doing things like tutorials. You can upload media here, and you can immediately insert those in your Canvas page. Very easy to do. Now, let's say I want to do something with a video. So I have a video, which is actually my FERPA. Oh, something's going on here. What's going on? Hope I didn't lose access to these videos. Wouldn't it be our luck if Canvas Studio went down when we need it? Okay, let me try a different video. Okay, that one's working. Now, the thing is, Canvas Studio is actually a better software program than PowerPoint to do editing, but there's one key caveat here. If you've already recorded the video, if you uploaded the video in your collections, there is no way currently to edit it. So you're saying, well, how the heck do I edit it? Here's the workaround. So I want to edit this video, or I want to add a title to it, or delete a part of it, or do that blur. What I have to do is I have to create a new recording. Don't ask me why this is the way it is. So to do that, I would create my recording. I'll do it as a screen capture. I'll allow that. And then this is just really funny. So I just need like 1 or 2 seconds. So I'm going to let it go here. It's going to go through its cycle and give me the countdown. Okay, it didn't do it. No, here we go. It's being slow. Okay, so I'm going to hit the record button. You see there at the bottom left. And then it'll give me my countdown. Okay, now I'll just hit the pause button. 2 seconds is good enough. And I'm going to hit the done button. I know this is really weird. Okay, so now at this stage, I can do a lot with this video. I can click on it. It's going to allow me actually to do, I have to hit edit first. It will allow me to crop the video. It will allow me to customize webcam view, whether the cursor is shown. I could add music. I can customize the size of the video. I can do adjustments of my background layer if I want to do that for whatever reason. I can also go in and do pretty sophisticated, and I'll show you this more in a second, editing using all the tools. I can do narrations, I can add titles, I can do transitions, I can do the all-important blurring, as I talked about somewhere in here. It's under effects, I believe. Let me just see here. It's a little different, and I haven't used a lot of these myself. It's under overlays, so I can blur something in my video, and typically it'll allow me to choose the area that I want to blur. And you're seeing right now one of the challenges with using some of the tools here. Oh, it's right here. So this is the blur feature. So I can adjust the blur. So if I had this video at the top that I want to hide because it has confidential student data, I could blur it there. We're not going to go through this, but these will show up almost like my timeline editor in Final Cut or Premiere Pro. Whatever effect or modification of the video I'm doing, it will show, and over time these will start to appear. So you'll see blur here, and you click on that and you can adjust it. Main video. So every time I add something new, like a title, an effect, it appears. It also will show me how much of the video is affected. So if I want to blur the entire video that's 10 minutes long, let's say, and then it'll show me that it's the entire video, or I can actually adjust how much of that video I want to be blurred. The disadvantage, I think, of using Canva Studio for this, again, is I've got to do this all in one sitting. The minute I hit done and I hit this upload button, it is edited at the final version. It will then appear in your various collections inside of Canvas Studio. And you say, well, I want to do a second edit on that after I've uploaded. That's great. You just have to go through that weird process again. You have to start a new recording for 2 seconds, pause it, do the edits, and at that point, what you would actually do is bring in your old video. There's a setting here. Let me show you. I think the computer is slowing down. Let's quit a few programs because I'm running everything here. Kind of maxed out is probably what's going on. I might need final. I'll quit Audacity as well. And word, a warning is if you get involved with any video editing. Typically this doesn't happen in Canva Studio, but you begin to notice that it sucks a lot of memory from your computer. You could really have some issues if you're using a program like Premiere Pro or Final Cut with memory. Sometimes the files I'm using, if I'm recording a file with my good camera, I could have upwards of 80 gigs for a half an hour. That's a lot. That's a lot of footage. And I sometimes will take that video and render it down and save it in a smaller format because it does suck up so much memory and disk space. Apologize for that. Let me go back to Canva Studio. It seems to have some issues. Okay, so what I was suggesting is if you upload that video, you hit, in my step here, at the point that you hit that upload, that green button, that video is done forever with one exception. What you would do is you would go back and do that workaround, and I have to do this to show you. So I'm going to record a new video, and let me just actually, I wanted to exit that one and start a new one to show you this. So the only way really to edit a previously created video is to go through the same process. I don't know why it's telling me to download that program again. It's always so inconvenient when you're trying to do this in real time, and it's asking you. So let me try that one more time because I just did it for you. You saw it literally. And for some reason it's getting caught up on the screen recorder program. I don't know why. Let's try that again. This is on a Mac, and again, some of what you're seeing today, whether it's PowerPoint or even the screen capture utility that is kind of not great right now, is happening on a Mac. So it could very well be different on a PC. You're seeing some of the hurdles and challenges. So let me reinstall that, even though, okay, sorry. Okay, we're back here. Okay, so I want to work with a video I've already installed, or I've already recorded, but I can't edit that once I've hit that upload button. So what I have to do is once again record a 2-second session here in Canva Studio. Pause it. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit done first, and then I will now edit my video. And what I would do is I would go to my tools, and I believe it's under insert. I would insert an existing recording. So what I would do is I would find that recording that I hit upload on, but I want to re-edit. I would load that into this new thing I'm recording for the sake of just editing again, and then I can go in, adjust the video that is the existing video. I can add titles. I can use all the tools that are available. So what I would probably do in that case is that 2 seconds that I recorded, because I don't want that to show up, I could go in and cut that. So it's not the best option, frankly, of working with video. It would be nice if we could click on a pre-existing video in Canva Studio and edit it. This is the workaround. Again, it's described on that PDF. So if you, the PDF here. So if you want to look at that, I kind of go through the steps. And again, we can do an additional training on Canva Studio because I know there's definitely a lot involved. But what I like about Canva Studio, to go back to it, is you can do pretty impressive full-fledged editing. I'm just trying to go back. Let me just close some windows here. And we'll find that. We don't need these. A lot of windows opened. It definitely was one of these. I don't know what happened to that. So let me do it one more time. And we have, no, it's somewhere down here. Sorry. It is a window. It's right here. Okay. So what I like about using Canva Studio, again, you can do all the basic stuff. So I can go in and adjust my video. I can resize it. I can crop it. I can choose different styles of what it's going to look like. So that's kind of nice. And then the tools, I think, are really pretty full-fledged here. So I'd click on the edit button and I pull up the tools window. I can adjust the volume. I can add transitions between sections. I can adjust the speed, almost like a speed ramp you would use in a sophisticated video editing program. I can do replacements of video. I can do a freeze frame of a certain amount of time. And then I can narrate on top of that by clicking the narrate button. And then it'll ask me here, drag the bar below to select what to narrate over. So I can choose the selection that I'm going to do my narration. I hit start, it tells me the time, and then I record using my microphone. So again, I think, there's a lot you can do inside of Canva Studio as long as you, again, do that new screen recording that allows this workaround to do editing on a previously recorded video. I can cut sections, so if I messed up my lecture, or if a student said something that was inappropriate or there was an argument, I could just cut out that section of the video, and then it's no longer there. I can hide something if I don't want my cursor to show or my webcam on myself to show, and just my tutorial video of the screen to show. I can insert again, new recordings, and I think the overlays you'll find very useful. You can click on the arrow, and anywhere you want, you can choose your arrow. You can resize that arrow. And again, all of these elements will show up on your timeline. And if you want to adjust anything, you click on that element, in this case a shape, and you can change it. You can adjust the timing of it, where it appears in the video, and so forth. I don't love, personally, this kind of approach. I don't like clicking on a lot of things and losing track. I like knowing where every bit of media is. If I insert a title, for example, and I'm just showing you this as a contrast. If I go to my titles, up here, I know exactly where it is. I know where it appears, and it appears on the timeline. Only when I, click on that section of the timeline starting at 25 seconds or so, it appears, and then it disappears, and that corresponds with what I see here. So for me, I prefer this kind of view of a advanced video editor. But to get started, you can't go wrong, really. There are enough tools here to get started with. You want to do simple titles. You could do that. Again, a lot of these are found on the overlays. You insert a title. I mentioned a Solange yesterday. We were previewing some of this, and I said it looks a little like PowerPoint. It's maybe not the most attractive. I don't know what font that is. But again, just to get started, you can insert some words as titles or as areas of emphasis to emphasize something in your lecture or in your video. So it does get a little bit, when you start to add more than a few elements, you do get into this like, okay, wait, what's going on here? That's on the timeline there. And then I don't know what you think of this, but I don't personally love the layout, but it's what's available, and it's actually pretty sophisticated, with the exception or with the caveat that you have to always, unless you do this right after you recorded your Canva Studio video, whatever that is, you'd have to bring in that video by doing that new screen recording, hitting pause, hitting done, and then before you upload, go in and do any of those adjustments. So it's not the best maybe solution for us, but it's what is available. Again, for blurs, for adding narration, I think it can be really wonderful actually for accomplishing a lot of things in your classes. I'm just kind of going through the list here, and we'll get to some Q&A. I've covered most of this here. We talked about Canva Studio. We talked about PowerPoint. We talked about blurring. Yeah, go ahead. Ask some questions. I think we covered everything. No, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you real quick, when you're doing Canva Studio and you want to do editing, and the workaround is to make a new video,
yeah,
the old video. Now the trick is you have to do all of that prior to uploading.
Yeah, exactly. Or you upload, and then you do that trick again, record again, you bring that video that you did in again to do version 2. So again, it's not a great option. Whereas in Final Cut Pro, again, anytime I want to work with any of my video programs, they just live on my computer as long as I don't delete them. I can click on that. I have to get to my projects at the top here. I could click on that, and all I have to do is work with that media. So that's why I prefer using an editor like this. But I realize that not everybody wants to spend the time or the money potentially buying that program and learning it. So you're absolutely correct. It's not the best situation, but again, maybe over time, if enough of us complain, all they'd have to do, Canvas would simply have to do is add an edit button. I don't know the programming involved there, but you would be able to click on this and click edit, right? And then that same window that pops up when you do the record right up here would pop up. We can't currently do that. So the only option is to do that workaround and then bring in the previous video in that and do all your edits before you hit upload. The minute you hit upload, it's saved and you can't edit that except bringing it in using that same technique. So it's very strange how it is, but it's the option that's available. And so again, I think, going back to kind of this idea of the 3 T's, really think about what you want to accomplish. If you simply want to maybe create a narration on top of some slides or some still images, I would recommend PowerPoint or Canvas Studio. Very easy to use. A couple clicks. Once you're done with that, you upload it to your site, whether it's Canvas Studio, YouTube, or 3C Media, and you're good to go. If you want to do anything sophisticated, if you want to do edits on your video, if you want to cut things out, if you want to adjust color, we didn't talk about things like doing keyframes. Keyframes allow you to change things over time in a video. So if I wanted to zoom in over time in my particular video, I would set up what's called a keyframe. And every time I get to that keyframe, I adjust the parameter of what I'm changing. The color, the zoom, the exposure, whatever. So a lot of options out there. Again, I really would recommend thinking about what you want to accomplish. And then I think I or others can direct you to the tools available. Most of the tools we discussed today you have access to. Again, everybody has access to Office 365, to Canvas Studio, teaching at the college. That doesn't involve any purchase. Same thing with Zoom. You have access to that. The only thing really you'd have to purchase would be an advanced video editor. There is one out there called Filmora. I didn't show you that today, but that's one that is fairly, I think, easy to use. It does cost $70 to use the actual program. I'll just pull it up here real quick. And it's like an easier version. It's almost like iMovie. And again, I think iMovie, if you're a Mac user, is available free. I really recommend iMovie. To go back to my band videos, it's where I got started with video, and it's not as full-fledged as Final Cut, but it is really good. And you can do a lot of sophisticated stuff with not a lot of effort. It's not a lot of learning. There isn't a lot of menu diving. With using something like Final Cut Pro, the reason I use my Stream Deck to customize things, there's a ton of menu diving. So if I want to do a particular function, I have to find it. Somewhere in the program, I can often find it using the help menu. But what's nice about using something like Filmora, which is opening up here, or iMovie, is they limit your options, which can make it nice. So as you can see here, you can import your clip, and then you have a traditional timeline view like you do in more advanced editors. And then you have a very simple slate of options that includes transitions, effects, split screens, and various elements. And it's really easy to use. You just drag everything to the timeline, to that section of the video where you want to do the effect, the edit, the title, and it shows up. Not unlike Final Cut Pro, where everything is visible by using my playhead and my timeline. Now, the one disadvantage of Filmora, and I found that this was annoying, when you use the free version, it puts this giant watermark on your video. So I don't know about you, but that's pretty annoying. Particularly if I have text here, it's going to be covered up by the watermark. The only way to get that to go away is to, of course, pay to play $70, I think it is, for the current version. So again, if you don't want to buy stuff, then I would say don't look at any of those purchase, pay to play kind of options out there. So I know we're going over a little bit. If you have to jump off, I totally understand. But let's stay on for some Q&A, and in particular, if you're thinking about if you want to know more about Canvas Studio, we could do another workshop on that. If you want to know more about PowerPoint video options, we could do another workshop on that. So what are some of your questions or possible uses that you're thinking of in terms of working with video?
Well, mine is, as you know, to upload. I have now 100 little videos that are running around 2 minutes each.
It's 100 now. Whoa.
Yeah. Well,
Wow,
it's two
okay.
projects. One project
Gotcha.
is 80 videos. The other project is 20 videos.
Okay.
And each video is about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to be able to upload all of them so my students can download them.
Yeah, so what I would do, so yesterday we were kind of thinking of using 3C Media. Based on what you can't download it. No, so what I would recommend, Solange, is I would use Canvas Studio. So, what I would do is I would just upload them all to Canvas Studio, and I think you can do bulk upload. I believe you can. Don't quote me on that. But what I would do is upload those all to Canvas Studio, make a collection, specifically that you call dailies. And I think we created that. So this we tried yesterday, we called it dailies. I would select that video. And again, what I would do is allow it to be downloaded, but don't allow comments because you only want your students to download the video. Hit embed. And then it's going to be, there'll be a lot of videos on this page, but that's okay. The students will have to do the work, and this way you can assess whether they've done the work. And then all they're going to do is click that download icon that appears in the top left, and then you'll see it just downloaded it. So that was pretty quick. That was an MP4 file. It was 18 seconds. So, it's going to involve some work, but this way you could see whether your students have the commitment to do the tasks that you're asking them to do. So I would simply put them all on your page, and then they download every video in order, I guess.
Can I import a folder full of these, or do I have to do them one at a time?
Nope, you could do, so what I would recommend is we'll go to Canvas Studio, the icon found on the menu here. And then, like I said, create a collection. So if you wanted to, you could call it, dailies number 1 or something. So you have that collection, and then you add all your videos to it. And then when you go back to that page to edit it into Canvas Studio, you can just click on that collection and then start to add the videos from that particular collection. So yeah, you could name it whatever you want. And then that way you could organize, class 1 dailies, class 2 dailies. And then it's easier, I think, to remember when you're trying to figure out what videos to upload into your page for Canvas.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that's your option. I was going to say 3C Media, but to be honest with you, 3C Media, their upload server, wherever it lives, it's really slow. And that's not the case with Canvas Studio. There's a little processing time. Again, you might want to upload all these and then give it some time, but I think it's probably your best bet is to use Canvas Studio.